Hi, this is Benandorf, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Crusader Kings 2, The Old Gods. As we last left off, we had just finished putting down a bloody rebellion after forming the Kingdom of Denmark, and to start off this game, I'm going to give us a brief overview of the world at large. So, let's get started. To begin with, Finland is still very broken up between a lot of different pagan duchies. Each of them are quite small, though. Norway is in the midst of being unified by Ostlandel. I think that's how you pronounce it. And Sweden has recently been unified, as in the last 5 years, in fact. Additionally, Ostlandel does own a chunk of Iceland, but the other bit is still owned by Vestland, who, yes, oh, well, that's interesting. They didn't change it so that if you start with a particular county or any titles, it doesn't show up as 866 anymore, or 867. It still shows up as 1066. That's a little bit of a bug. But this particular count wants to become King of Norway, which is laughable, but hasn't done anything so far. Moving on to the British Islands. In addition to our lands here, there's a couple duchies still in Wales. Scotland has become very large and has succeeded in taking over most of Great Britain, and is starting to expand into Ireland, which is still mostly separate counts. And in fact, I should probably get on invading and conquering Ireland sooner rather than later. Wessex is Catholic, of course, as is Cornwall and the duchies in Wales, but most of Great Britain is now ruled by Norse, even if the people haven't embraced the faith. Let's move over to Iberia, where very little has happened since game start. I believe that this particular dynasty, which is starting to get a little decadent, look at all these children, they may start having some issues down the road. This particular dynasty was already in control of this much land. At least they haven't grown any against Navarre and Asturias, or Aquitaine for that matter, but they also haven't given up any land. Moving into North Africa, the West African pagans have been united under one king, both Songhai and Ghana now being part of Mali, but they've lost some land to the Muslims, and so have to start worrying about more encroachment by the Idrisids, and we may see them disappear before too long. North Africa is owned by some different decently sized kingdoms and duchies, all the way over to Egypt, which is also owned by a kingdom. And Abyssinia has successfully unified this area in Eastern Africa, which is all Miaphysite, I believe, in Ethiopia. And they haven't lost any land really to the Muslims, but I don't believe they've gained any either. Not a whole lot going on in North Africa, or Africa as a whole. Moving back over to Western Europe, West Francia and Aquitaine haven't shifted much, though Brittany has been conquered by Norsemen, so are no longer Catholic. Well, the land is, but the rulers are not. Lothrania has just gone absolutely ape and taken the Kingdom of Italy, as well as a little bit of land down here in southern Italy, which noteworthy in Italy is that Byzantines, as well as this Republic of Amalfi, have driven out any Muslim presence there. So they haven't completely converted all of the land, but the Muslims no longer have a foothold in Central Europe. The other major republic, Venetia, so Venice, has not really done much of anything as far as taking land. And it looks like the Byzantines have taken a little bit of land here in the Balkans, maybe from Serbia, but other than that have not shifted a whole lot. Bulgaria seems to have grown, but may have already started the size, while the Magyars, who are generally expected to win in Eastern Europe, become hungry and take a whole lot of land, have really not done anything and are currently getting their asses kicked by some other duchies here other pagan duchies here in Eastern Europe. Great Moravia has a young king on the throne and is still Gavelkind, or Gavelkind. I'm not really sure how to pronounce that one. And doesn't have any sons right now, but it looks like... Oh yeah, he was the only son, so that inheritance worked out alright. Looking at East Francia, they haven't done a whole lot. They may have given up some of this land here in Pomerania to independence or whatever, but I'm not sure where they start with. They're currently at war with Lotharingia over the Kingdom of Bavaria, which it looks like the Karlings, as soon as this king dies off, King Karlman I the Wise of East Francia, will give one of these kingdoms to his first son and the other to a different son. So that kingdom will be split up pretty soon, which will allow us perhaps to be able to expand a little bit into Germany. Moving on to the northeastern Europe, Pomerania has a pretty strong duke in charge. The Baltics are split up between a number of different small pagan dukedoms, and Rurik is still alive and kicking, still trying to form the Kingdom of Rus. Those great stats. I am completely jealous. But he just has one duchy, so even though he has a number of sons that will get different counties, unless he creates another duchy before he dies, his kingdom should stay intact, as petty kingdom such as it is. And out into the far eastern Europe, so almost Central Asia, the pagans are securely in charge, making some inroads against the Muslims holding Persia as well, it looks like. And the different types of pagans are just, well, not even different types, just the pagans in general are having at each other and expanding here, losing a little land there, not doing a whole lot of anything. No one power is really dominant. I'm going to zoom out a little further and look at religions. Catholics are still the major religion in Western Europe and in Great Britain, but the actual owners of the provinces are mostly Norse at this point, and the Norse faith is starting to grow. In addition, Brittany is in somewhat of the same situation, though no Norsemen have made any inroads in converting the populace there. The population of Iberia is slowly becoming Sunni, and I think they've made a little bit of inroads, but it's still mostly Catholic. West African pagans are still, well, the religion of West African paganism is still at the hearts and minds of the people here in West Africa, but I'm sure they will be converted to Shia pretty soon. Interestingly enough, there's a heresy, a Muslim heresy of some sort here in northern Africa, which may cause some issues and start breaking up the African kingdoms a little bit. Pretty solid Sunni Muslims here in northeastern Africa, all the way up to the Miaphysites, which are still holding their land pretty well. Lots of Sunnis here in the east, which, apparently the Caliph is an emperor of... He has completed the Arabian Empire and has done so during the start of this game. So that's noteworthy. There are some Nestorian, which are Orthodox heresies, showing up here and there. And Miaphysites, wrong button, are still holding a little bit of land here east of the Byzantine Empire. Zoroastrians, I don't know how to pronounce that word. I've only ever seen it written. They're still, that faith, the ancient faith of the Persians, is in the heart and minds of those in Persia, but with pagans coming from one side and Muslims from the other, that may change in the near future. So, that's pretty much an overview of the world at large. Now that we're done with that, let's decide who to attack next. I'm thinking this little bit of Pomerania may be the next lucky winner of that draw. Once we're done looting a little bit here, although taking some more of Wales wouldn't be a terrible idea either. In fact, that may be what I'll do next, so let's get started. Going to unpause, finish up this looting, and then going to take I can't even pretend to pronounce that crazy Welsh word from the Kingdom of Gwynedd, petty Kingdom of Gwynedd. And our runestone has been raised, giving us quite a lot of prestige as well as an increase to opinion from our vassals for at least the next 2 years, and an increase in diplomacy. But that's a huge amount of prestige, well worth it for 100 gold. Because we now have some more people that like us a little more, let's see if anybody here will be willing to join our plot. Still not looking likely. Ooh, increasing the opinion by 51. So that will increase it up to over 100%, which means we will be able to kill the current Earl of Lincoln, and hopefully we'll be able to educate this son by a Norseman. None of these other crazy religions. They're all wrong but mine. Unfortunately not. I'm going to send a gift and see if that will change it. No, still not a fan. But once he becomes ruler, perhaps. I'm going to increase speed again. Our daughter lacks a guardian. I don't know that it really matters who trains her, but I'm going to look for someone that has high learning, since I believe females can become seers, and thus it's about the only useful stat for them. And looking at the council, let's see if there's anybody else. I'm going to give Gwent the chancellorship, which will give him an extra diplomacy skill and make him more valuable than he currently is. And going to give the marshal from Holstein, I don't know why, but his marshal dropped from about 19. I guess Craven showed up and maybe Brave disappeared. But I'm going to give it to this other man, a courtier, who has... Oh, wait, no, he's Catholic. Never mind, screw that. Stewards. I might as well leave my heir in there. He's doing alright anyways. I am going to switch him over to research economy tech, though. I don't need the money desperately at the moment. Spymaster is currently far and away the best, as is the seer. So we're going to leave those as they are. Let's see if any more of these will be willing to join in. I might be able to... No, I've already increased his opinion, so that's alright though, now that we have another and a very valuable asset backing our plot. We should be able to have this count killed off in a fairly expedient manner. Siege equipment in Northampton has increased, and a plan has been approved. But unfortunately, the Welsh have attacked us here in Pealand. That's alright, I just finished looting, and their army got completely annihilated. But I'm going to pull back and disband this army. The plot has succeeded. Unfortunately, Lincoln, or the Count, found out who it was. Interestingly enough, though, we stand to inherit after this next vassal. So, next plot will be to kill off the son as well. And, wow, the Spymaster is willing to join in. This should be a very quick plot as well. And that will end both the dynasty of Hastings and will give us the land in Lincoln, which we have enough domain size, so might as well keep. But anyways, going to pull back these troops and disband, and then immediately turn around and declare war for the conquest of Pealand, which will give us control over all 3 of the holdings there, which we can then give out to a good God-fearing, Odin-fearing Norseman. I'm going to group up these units, and then actually disband all of the units over here in Scandinavia. Doesn't cost me anything to have raised them and then disbanded them, and it will keep down any opinion loss from raised levies on vassals. Plus, I really don't need that many troops to be able to succeed and take this little bit of land. The 3,000 here in England should be more than adequate. What I am going to do is Let's see what our vassals are looking like. Well, they're pretty much big fans of me right now. So I'm going to raise feudal taxation to small. Just bring in a little bit of extra cash. I won't ever raise it beyond small, but the 10% adds up very quickly considering almost all of our vassals are feudal. And I remember seeing the numbers at some point. Unless the people absolutely hate you, raising taxes will always increase income, and unless they absolutely love you, decreasing levies will increase the amount. Decreasing levy laws will increase the amount of levies raised. So I will probably decrease, as our next change in crown law will decrease both normal city levies and normal church levies, and maybe even normal feudal levies by down one level. But anyways, the spymaster of Lincoln and the regent of Lincoln is willing to plot against his liege, which is very scummy of him, but I'm happy about. And the votes are slowly coming in. We will soon have all the votes and have small feudal tax. And a plan has been approved. Grouping up these armies. Yep, the lords of Denmark have approved the institution of small feudal taxes. Oof, Wessex has just joined in this war, so we need to get this over pretty soon, I would think. What other allies can we call in? None of any true value, so going to ignore them. But this army has successfully grouped up. It's going to give it some good generals. Relatively, anyways. And they don't have a lot of effect from these generals other than just the high martial skill. But I think that's the biggest effect, because in battle that speeds up sieges, and once actually in battle, it increases the chance of choosing a good or the best tactic depending on the size of each type of unit. Speaking of which, once we get some money, we still need to raise some retinues some more. And there we go, we just inherited Lincoln. Hooray, hooray. Succeeded with the plot. The kid took a little bit of a tumble out of a tower, and luckily, no one found out that we were involved. We also inherited a huge chunk of wealth, so no time like the present. I'm going to... Let's see what these Huscarl regiments are like. I imagine the Housecarls will have some buff to their infantry power, so I'm going to raise one unit of that, and then a unit of skirmish, because the archers will make them a little more valuable. And the next unit I will raise will be light cavalry, and then maybe even a defense regiment, just make them a little bit stronger, but the heavy infantry are so good, maybe not. Pretty much, though, I can completely ignore the shock regiment, because the troops here from Housecarls, I believe, should have... Yeah, Housecarls have a significant amount of increase to attack, so I will want to build some pikemen eventually to increase the defense of our retinues, but this will be a nice 1,000 units, or 1,000 men. Since I have some actual money now, I could create a duchy, but that would probably just split it up between my sons, so I'm going to hold out on that for now and just sit on this nest egg. Worst case scenario, it goes to my son. And we've started the siege, which may take a little while because they have quite a large army. Wessex is still grouping their army together by the looks of it. Once they show up, I may move my retinue from Gulen over here to England to either join up or... Oh wow, Stafford did not take long to siege down. But I'll move them over here to either just join up or to work on their own. And it looks like Wessex has a pretty small army, so I'm not overly frightened of them. Just slowly trying to siege down the castle here that we want to take. Oh, that's what I'll do, since I have some money anyways. I'm going to upgrade in Zealand. I'll spend on Castletown first. And actually, I should probably build a Castletown in all of these lands, because whether or not I personally own the land, it will be worthwhile to keep it pretty valuable, because I'll be at least getting some part of taxes. Urabi's currently under siege, so I'm not going to build anything there right now. Oh wow, and Northampton is very upgraded. So I'm going to sit on the money for the moment. Our income went way up from the feudal tax. It looks like increased it by about 2 a month, which is quite nice. But even paying to currently fill out the retinues, we are getting quite a large income. And yeah, they're set to reinforce at maximum speed, so that's good. Shrewsbury is under siege, and apparently, despite the high level of supply, I guess that's just for us, because it's Norse, the Norse, in the Old Gods, Norse provinces get a huge defensive buff that I believe is decreased by military organization. Maybe only through supply limit going up. Oh no, it does say removes after level 4. There's no attrition penalty for non-pagans in pagan homelands. So at that point is when we can start worrying about attacks back on us. But for the moment, it would appear that there is quite a lot of attrition. Wow. Yeah, it looks like it 5% attrition just for being in Norse homelands, regardless of size. That is an extremely valuable defensive bonus. And our army has been weakened, or no, the enemy army has been weakened. Failed sally by the defender in the bit of Wales that we're trying to take. And the attacking troops have been weakened in Urabi, which has extended the siege. So we should be able to finish this siege, sweep through, and wipe out the 2 armies trying to siege us. Maybe take back a bit of land in Warwick. Warwick or Warwick? No, probably Warwick. But regardless, taking back the land there, and then coming back to finish off the city and the temple. The city won't take very long. The temple might not be a while. But the attack is weakened, unfortunately. Or no, that's again Urabi. So, and now we finished off that siege. So let's clear out some of these enemy troops, and then, oh well, they're not willing to face us. What cowards! These troops here in Urabi are going to be quickly disposed of, and we captured the leading general, who is quite a powerful marshal. So I'll keep him in my dungeons, let him rot, maybe sell him back, we'll see. Since he doesn't have any land, he's probably not worth selling back. But the enemies in Leinster have tried to take back what land I've taken in Wales, so I will give battle, which will be very quick. And our spymaster has gotten some more technology from Constantinople, which should increase our technology levels. Military advances have gone way up. And I'll go ahead and invest in cavalry, bring it up to level 1. Yeah, it looks like each level of this is the level you need to grow up to. So the base for that, minus whatever percentage is filled, based on percentage, and then times 100. So it will take a lot more military tech for each level, or a lot more of each tech for each level of increase. Anyways, continuing to siege, we've captured another courtier here in battle, I imagine, and succeeded. Oh no, just starting the siege of the town, but won that battle, giving us quite a bit of war score, a little bit of tech points, and then a decent amount of prestige and piety. So now we're just going to wait through and siege down, which will not take all too long. That was quick. Cracked open the egg and got another 18, almost 19 gold. And one more to take, and then we should be able to force a peace. Which is good, because our Catholic allies are becoming annoyed that we're raising their levies. The Norse don't care, they're happy to have their men used for war. But the Catholics are not quite as happy about it. Now let's see if he will surrender. Yes, he will. So I'm going to just pull this army back out. And there we go. I'm going to hold on to that county for now. I can afford to keep it, and it saves me the trouble of having to give it away. It'll be given away to one of my sons eventually anyways. But I've usurped all of those titles and won the war. Speaking of sons, let's see. We will keep an eye on these younger sons, and if they end up being pretty good, I may assassinate my... Ooh, no, my older son's quite the ruler, although he is getting a little old. But anyways, I will choose whoever is the best and use that as and assassinate the other sons, hopefully before I die. That way I can avoid giving away too many of my titles. And I could take the Earldom of Jorvik, but that would probably piss off Scotland, and that's not really something I'm prepared to do yet. But now that we have this army here in England, let's get to raiding. Got nothing better to do. Looks like Brittany is currently trying to conquer Wessex. So this whole bit of land may be Norse before too long. Quickly finished looting in Oxford. So on to Gloucester, where the looting shouldn't take too long either, and is really not worth sieging the whole thing down. On we have someone who thinks he would be a better marshal, but he's Catholic, so no interest in having a non-Norse as the leader of our military. Finished looting there, moving on to take bits of some more of Wales, I guess, looting more of it. And then I'm going to disband these troops and start another war to take some more of Wales. Shipbuilding in Urabi has increased, which is extremely useful considering it is a non-coastal province. I'm sure they will be building all sorts of ships. Disbanding this unit. And before I actually declare war, I'm going to move my retinue over. Let's see. We have not quite enough for any more troops, even any more skirmishers. But I'm going to raise the fleets here. And heck, I'll even hire some cheap mercenaries. Let's get them on the ship and send them on over to England. Moving them into position. And then let's get rolling and conquer some more. Question is, which bits do we want? Ooh, Gwynedd seems to be the place to be, so that will be where I will conquer. So sending the troops there, and going to raise all of the levies again, at least in England. Deleting this fleet. I can win merely on the number of troops in England. So we'll send all of the other troops other than which actually turned out to be exactly 3,000. What a coincidence. But all the troops that aren't part of this particular siege party, which I'm going to give some generals to now, will move down here to Gwent to be ready to attack from another front, just to speed up this war. Or more likely, I'll move down there and then eventually send them up to help with the siege. But this should not be a very difficult war to win. And my wife is pregnant. My strong wife, maybe she will give me a very strong son, in which case the other ones might take a bit of a tumble here or there, and be the victims of various forms of assassination through plotting. But we've now laid siege, and grouping this army up, they have adequate enough marshals. Gonna let them get their prestige from this war, and try and catch the army from Deirbarth, the Welsh army, while it's moving around. My son now needs a guardian, and a Catholic one. No, I will not be giving the guardianship to her. Ugh. My mayors are asking to lower taxes, which I am not interested in doing, so I'll take this slightly lower opinion. They're all pretty much... I think they're completely, actually, they are all Baron levels, so I don't really care what they have to say. If they don't like me, they will not rebel. They have no chance to win, so... Anyways, educating this child. Let's get him a good marshal. Hey, I'll educate him myself. I should get to know my son, shouldn't I? What better way than teaching him the ways of the world? And we are now under siege. Still not going to give you the martial cap. You are not Norse. We've attacked the enemy. And this should be a pretty one-sided battle. And so it was. So we're going to give chase. And hopefully wipe out the army completely. At which point it's just a matter of sieging them down. Yep, they're running back to Warwick. And there they go. So now I'm going to send this army to siege another bit of land. Just see how much money I can take before this war is over. One of our vassals has come home with a fleet full of raiding loot. Good for him. And good event for our siege. Oh, and I forgot to disband all of these troops. Whoops. Go home, everyone. The war is already over, basically. My son has asked, will I rule one day? And I will tell him, if you deserve it. Diligence an excellent trait, so he might end up deserving it. We shall see. Nothing like a little bit of fratricide and eugenics to really make a kingdom strong. Oh, I have enough money, and Horsens is finished upgrading, so what to build here next? I'm going to upgrade Militia Training Ground next. And then that'll be it for now. Siege has struck the besieging army, which is unfortunate for us, but the sieges should be pretty easy. And completed taking the first holding here. So just need to keep sieging, take down some more. Son has been born, but he is not strong, so just another one to split land between. He may have an accident here before too long. In fact, I see no reason to keep him around at all, except that I cannot plot to kill him. What a shame. Well, then, for the moment, I'll leave him be. Maybe he'll get a really good education and turn out great. Defenders have weakened again. Attacks weaken. Just back and forth with some different sieges. Thankfully, this army in the north that the king is leading is completely reinforceable because it's both retinues and mercenaries. Which, with the amount of money I have, I might even just keep the mercenaries around and use this as a quick attack force. But we will see. If money starts to become tight, I might have to disband them. And raiders have hit the camp in Warwick, which is apparently the place to invade. Oh, that's because the new administration... Well, maybe. Oh, that's why, because it's a city, and thus the first holding is very weak. But completed another siege, so sieging the last bit of land here in Gwynedd. And Stafford is a very easy city to take, it would appear. Brittany has taken the city of something. Looks like he's taken just a little bit of land here in Wessex, which means that we need to fight Wessex here sooner or later. And we have a potential surrender coming through. I'm going to wait and siege down a couple more bits of land first. Crack open the golden eggs, as Paradox likes to put it, and see what's inside, making plenty of money from it. Navarra has now joined this war. A little too late, though. Church infrastructure in Northampton, which will eventually increase our income there. All of those techs are nice to have, and it's good to see them spreading. And a young girl has been taken from the Welsh. I'll leave her in the... Well, she may be freed at the end of this war. But another meaningless courtier. So we've dragged out a couple of these people that were defending. Completed that siege. Pretty close to finishing up in Gwynedd, at which point... Yeah, there we go. So now I will enforce my demands, which means another bit of land. Hooray, hooray. Going to create vassals for these. And that will be a pretty valuable bit of land here at some point, so I'm going to give away the P land and keep Gwynedd. I have to find a worthwhile character for it. So gender male, my religion and my culture. Not a great house. So, Chancellor of Finland, congratulations. You win the lottery and you get a bit of land. There we go. I'm going to pull back the raised levies and delete them. And actually going to go ahead and delete the close the mercenaries. Retinues only cost when they're reinforcing, and there's no real reason to keep the retinues around at the moment. Scotland has moved their capital to Norfolk. I'm not sure why that would be. Oh, it looks like because he inherited the crown. Interesting, but there's quite a number of pretty strong duchies now in Scotland, so perhaps they will have an independence war and break up. Regardless, I think I'm going to stop there for today. We've taken a lot more of Wales, and now finally have a standing army. And yeah, check back soon for more Crusader Kings 2, The Old Gods.